What's up, people? We are back with more Fault Milestone 1. In the previous video we actually found out a lot about what's going on in this damn city, and it kind of puts us in a weird situation, right? Because we have to leave as soon as possible, or at least go to a continent which is filled with mana streamlines, because we're kind of suffering from mana shock or whatever it was called, and the longer we stay here, the worse things get. But we kind of want to save Rune as well, so I'm not sure which direction we're gonna decide to go, but we'll find out. What do you make of that, Ritona? Ritona? What can be made from that, milady? Selphine couldn't force herself to break her seemingly dejected expression and could only look towards the direction that Rughzenhaide had gone. I empathize with her. Somehow, I can't help but feel that I've been denied a chance to help Rune. Is Rune really his slave? I'm not certain, my lady. Rudo deprived us of a thorough explanation and merely spoke his piece. It's almost as if he intentionally avoided answering our questions. Ritona. Yes? I have been wondering about the best course of action Father would have taken were he here. But I don't have a single clue. I'm still struggling with the horrible concept of slavery still being practiced. King Valar. Oh wow, we actually have choices. Oh god, what would King Valar do? It's kind of a strange situation, right? Because if you're king of a different continent, then you might even say that it's not your place to say what goes on in another continent, you know? Especially one that's like on the complete other side of the world. That doesn't mean you can't speak your opinion about it, but to actually intervene is sort of that's a big difference, right? To only speak your opinion about it and to actually do something about it as well. Now, those are two completely different things. So considering that we don't know anything about King Valar at all, it's kind of hard to make this decision on how he would do so. So the only option that I can do is to what I would do, and I would run away scared, crying like a little baby. But that option is not here, so we're just gonna intervene. Ultimately, my lady, I believe King Valar would have chosen to intervene. He would have, wouldn't he? Rune, Sarah, whatever her true name may be, I hope she's still safe and sound. More importantly, King Valar would, without a doubt, seek to root out and destroy even the slightest implication of slavery. Perceive, pursue, and punish. The 3 P's. That was King Valar's philosophy concerning any crime, while other kingdoms of San Ashrishta would mobilize their forces for war at any perceived offense by another. King Valar would always recognize the existence of an issue and pursue it with the kingdom's resources before enacting punitive measures. The practice of pacifism, the reputation of Rughzenhaide, the values of King Valar, the path down mana crafty, everything needed to be taken into consideration, so justice could be free from undeserved retribution. But I sincerely doubt that King Valar would condone the practice of slavery, even if it is a cultural difference that Rughzenhaide does not share. Milady, the Mana Crafters Alliance exists to uproot and eliminate any threats to not only the realm of San Ashrishta, but outside its borders as well. I believe it is in our right to exercise the Alliance's authority. Yeah, we're going all America on this bitch. Like, you know, America is like, what the fuck is going on in the Middle East? Well, you don't know how to do it properly. Fuck it, we'll intervene. That's America's philosophy. So we're gonna do the same thing here. King Valar would have certainly decried any lack of action as injustice. I believe he would have. No matter the methods, King Valar would ensure that an end would be met. Justice is blind after all. And what better way to give sight to the blind than to guide it under the light of our truth? I sincerely believe that in our current predicament, as ignorant and oblivious to the workings of Arcadia as we are, the best plan is to take action. At the very least, I would like to ensure that Rune is safe and sound. At least, yeah, exactly, that's the least that we want to accomplish here. Almost immediately, Selphine's dissatisfied expression brightened considerably into one full of hope. But Ritona, we still have to consider the facts before we take any action. And almost as soon as her sentence trailed off, her expression returned to one of hopelessness. The time limit and mana shock syndrome. Yes? Yes. I'm sorry, Ritona, but I can't make this decision knowing that it puts us both at risk. An acceptable conclusion under our present circumstance, but I have already determined my next course of action. Let's set our own time limit. What? Rudo Zevitz. He gave us an estimate of 3 days as the remaining time that we have on the outer pole, but I feel we should shorten that to 2. I don't want to leave anything to chance by departing at the very last moment, so I propose that we leave the day after tomorrow. Until then, we'll do everything we can to help Rune. Agreed? I agree. Your will is my bidding, milady. Ritona, milady? I want to save Rune. Yeah, let's save Rune. It shall be done, milady. The best place to begin our search for Rune would be to ask at all the shops we visited yesterday. Thankfully, our shopping route is still fresh in my mind. Which store did we stop by yesterday that's closest to the central district? Oh, how about the general store around the corner? The lady might know something. During yesterday's excursion, we purchased a map of Cadia from an elderly lady with a stocky build who was currently preoccupied with cleaning her storefront. Excuse me, madam, do you have a moment? Well, if it isn't you two from yesterday, how can I help you girls today? If you have some time, we have something that we'd like to ask you. It's about our other companion, Rune. Rune? I'm sorry, I've never heard that name before. I beg your pardon? Is it me or is this voice starting to sound a lot like the mom from Swim Club? I don't know. People didn't really like that voice. So if I'm going towards that voice again, then I apologize ahead of time. But yeah, I think I'm gonna roll with it for now. I beg your pardon? Madam. Senility, I think? That's how it's pronounced. Hasn't befallen you already, has it? Surely you must have seen her with us yesterday. Don't you sass me, lassie. I may be a fat old bag, but my memory's as sharp and taut as a ripe green apple. Please, Rune is the girl who was with us both yesterday. You must be mistaken, sweetie. The girl of the name who was with you too yesterday is Sarah. I suppose we should start referring to Rune as Sarah for the remainder of our inquiries. What's the matter with you two? Climbing up on me with those sad-looking eyes? I apologize for the confusion, but we only ever knew her as Rune. You see, we only met yesterday, and she said that Rune was her name. How curious! I wonder why Sarah would have done that. I greatly appreciate it if you could reconfirm what you just told me, madam. Is the name of the girl we both were with yesterday Sarah? You betcha! I'd know Sarah from a block away. The elderly woman shook her head slowly. Sarah's been as busy as a bee these days. Oh my god, it's getting worse and worse. I'm just gonna do normal. Ever since she started working on the city's mana grid, I haven't been able to see her as often. Yesterday was the first time I've seen her in a month. Mana grid? See that metal box over there? It's called a grid unit, and it's connected to the city's mana grid. The elderly woman pointed at one corner of her store towards a metallic box that was protruding from the ground. Upon closer inspection, I noticed several cylindrical objects protruding outwards from within the box and down into the street below. What does this contraption do? I take it neither of you were educated about the mana grid, huh? Young'uns these days. You two know at least about the mana mine on the outskirts of the city? The mana grid is connected to that. It siphons the supply of available mana on site and distributes throughout the whole city by mana grid. Once a month, the owner sends out workers to swap out a filter or some doohickey out inside a grid unit like that one to keep everything running smooth. For us folks in the central district, sweet little Sarah is the one they assigned to maintain the upkeep on our grid units. They weren't only excavating the mana mine, they even had those boxes scattered throughout the city to utilize the siphoned mana. Back to your question, the girl I saw you two with was without an ounce of doubt Sarah. Something just doesn't add up. Why would she lie to us? She even went through a whole shtick with Selphine just to reaffirm her name. So why? Why did Sarah lie to us about her real name? Did she really approach us with malicious intentions then? What was the reason, what other reason would she have for using a fake name? That's impossible though. If she had malicious intentions, such as entrapment, then Rughzenhaide would have willingly accepted my earlier offer. If they are working together, the prospects of extorting outsiders would be too good of an opportunity to pass up, and yet Rughzenhaide declined. If she doesn't have malicious intentions, then... I have another question, madame. Have you heard the name Rune before? Rune, huh? It sounds like a pretty common name for a girl. In mid-sentence, the elderly woman's jaw suddenly dropped. Her face followed suit and formed what appeared to be a somewhat stern expression. Actually, now that you mention it, I do remember someone with that name who lived in Cadia. But oh, the story was so horrible and tragic. Please, tell us what happened to her. The Selphine's family. That's family, mind you, and not the company we're talking about. The Selphines had a daughter with that exact name. But if I recall correctly, the girl died some 6 years ago. She died? Rune is dead? Wait. I'm sorry to say that I don't know all the details, but it was the talk of the town back in those days. Colorful details came out disguised as the truth, and it was just bedlam, I tell you. But what's true is that the Selphines did have a daughter named Rune, but nobody's seen her in so long that we all just figured the poor girl died. Madam, could you please tell us everything? Everything you know? They say naught but wicked things about her. Some say she's a siren. Others say she's the devil in disguise, and that I can't believe. She could have died before the Selphines conceived that little hell spawn. Please, calm yourself for a moment and speak sense, madam. This is an adolescent girl we're talking about. Yes? Perhaps you remember her merely as an overabundance of youthful energy that just didn't channel it in a positive way. Oh, I know the difference between a typical brat and the child of a demon. Believe you me, I can tell neither of you believe a word I say. I don't know why I'm turning it into this voice, because it has little words in it like oh and y'all and tabaki, I don't know. But I am indeed describing a young girl named Rune. No such child exists, madam. You think I don't know, missy? I raised 3 little rascals on my own. I'll have you know, I know how bratty normal children can be. But that little girl, oh, that little witch was something else. Everywhere she went, you can bet your bottom gallow that disaster soon followed. She's either building a very compelling case with her emotional output, or there's some truth to her account. How could you think that a child could intentionally be as you have described? Just the mention of her name would make the hairs on your skin stand straight. And that's the worst that could happen just by passing her. Some folks weren't so fortunate, especially the ones that made eye contact. They'd end up bloody and bruised, or so the rumor goes. Personality-wise, she was more mature than any other child I've seen. Children are dastardly schemers, and they do enjoy pulling pranks on us breadwinners, but she took it to a whole new level. At the age of 7, she could make a full-grown adult uneasy. What kind of child can put an adult on the spot like that? If you only knew how horrific that hellion was, you'd agree with me. But she's probably dead and gone from this world. Good riddance. That's kinda mean. Ritona, milady? The Zevit's family. Do you think they have any connection to the man we met earlier? Rudo Zevits? Hold on. Did you two actually meet with Rudo Zevits? We did actually, just a little while ago. I don't believe my ears! Is something the matter, madam? Rudo Zevits is a recluse, that's what. They say that he never shows himself in public. Say, madam, Mr. Rudo Zevits wouldn't happen to be related to Rune Zevits, would he? Rune was his little sister. Poor Rudo Zevits. After the Mr., Mrs. and the little imp passed away, he had to grow up without anyone to love around him. Learning how to manage his father's company must have been a back-breaking endeavor. I had no idea. Excuse me. Ah yes, I'll be there shortly. Sorry girls, but let's leave the grim gossip on that note. I've got business to run now. No, you've been quite helpful. Thank you again for your assistance. Thank you, madam. His little sister. I feel as if we have more questions than answers now. Ritona, do you think the Rune we both know is actually Rudo Zevits' little sister? I wouldn't count on it. Why not? Nobody knows what really happened to her, right? The lady said it herself. Rune could be alive for all we know. It could be easily a case of mistaken identity as well. I mean, her knowledge on the matter is all hearsay. Even if we assume that the Rune we know and Rune Zevits are the exact same person, what could cause her only brother to view her as an object? Perhaps it is a cultural practice to force the youngest in any Cadian family to enter enslavement. Wow, that's a strange cultural practice. I can only hope that my paranoia is merely getting the better of me. Ritona! Hey! Ritona! Milady? Is everything okay? You look a little pale. I'm slightly exhausted, to be completely honest. I'm feeling an uncomfortable warmth envelop me as well. The numbing sensation is slowly eating away at what control I have left over every muscle in my being. My purified mana must be slowly seeping externally, a sign of mana shock syndrome. I will be fine. I am more concerned about your welfare, milady. Do you feel different in any way? Me? I don't feel any different, no. Then all is well. Mana shock should be affecting me as well, right? I wonder why I'm not succumbing. I have a theory. Because mana manipulations take its toll, mana crafters typically have a shorter lifespan than most. Longevity is essential in the role of the ruling monarch of Rughzenhaide, and is second only to the assurance of the kingdom's perpetual peace and prosperity. As such, the royals of Rughzenhaide typically refrain from using mana crafting, as usage adversely affects longevity. They mustn't taint themselves by performing the duties of their subjects, as nothing else compares to ensuring the peace and prosperity of the kingdom they rule, and Selphine and I both have our parts to play. It is exceedingly rare for you to ever cast mana crafting compared to mana crafters, so perhaps the symptoms have yet to manifest as a result. At least that's one small positive sign. But if I succumb to mana shock first, I'll do everything in my residual being to take Selphine away from the outer pole. Otherwise, her symptoms may manifest. Ritona, milady? This is a royal decree, my royal guardian. Anxiety gripped my heart as she declared those words unblinkingly. You must not care only for my well-being, but for your own. If you feel that our time has run out, you must inform me immediately. I promise you that we will depart the outer pole post-haste. That is my royal decree to you, Ritona. Before our remaining 2 days have elapsed, inform me if your condition worsens. I understand, my lady. At present, I am far from succumbing to mana shock syndrome. I believe what I'm experiencing is merely melees from an unfamiliar sensation. Okay. Selphine speaks the truth though. I haven't thought up any plan of escape from the outer pole should our situation worsen. And we can spend what precious time we have remaining by asking every proprietor we encountered. Isn't there anyone knowledgeable about the city, about its culture, about recent events? Anyone who would point us in the right direction? Could it be Mr. what's his name? The one that made clothes for us? Ritona, something just occurred to me. Oh, I knew it, Mr. Hedgeman. Why don't we ask Mr. Hedgeman for his help? He might be able to fill in a lot of gaps the lady left open for us. Hedgeman, here we come, here we come. Chapter 4, Sparing the Shadow. Another sign is up in front of Hedgeman's store. It reads, Grauquil's Apparel, gone to get smashed. It's the same sign. Huh? Again? It's barely past midday now. Do you think he's at Avel's Tavern again? Is the tavern even open at this hour? I believe, Hedgeman. Maybe inside right now. Inside? I moved towards the door, pushing slightly against its wooden frame. The door gave way. He's still here. Ritona, are you sure it's okay to enter without Mr. Hedgeman's permission? I'm certain that he won't mind. Wait, how can you be so certain though? We've only known him for a few hours. Wait! Are those like giant buttons on the wall? Oh god. Mr. Hedgeman! Mr. Hedgeman! Are you here? I let out an audible shout that echoed throughout the store. If my logic is sound, I should hear a response soon. Ritona! There's someone over there! Between home and his watering hole, there's only one place Hedgeman could be. Selphine snuck behind me and pressed herself against my back. Hedgeman, we have something urgent to discuss with you. I hear something groaning, Ritona. It doesn't sound human either. Oh, it's human alright. It's just the sound of a human who's had more ale than it can handle. From within, I heard the most abhorrent groans to ever pollute my ear canals. That hit the spot. Selphine cooked up a few delectable morsels to help Mr. Hedgeman recover from his hangover. Clearly, he's found a new addiction next to ale. If you would like seconds, then just say the word, Mr. Hedgeman. If only he knew the true identity of his chef. He hasn't a clue that the future monarch of Rughzenhaide just cooked a meal for a commoner like him. Hedgeman, you had best be grateful. Ritona, are you hungry? You should have said something if you were hungry. I'm not hungry, nor am I grumpy from hunger. You sure there, Missy? This stuff's like a party in your mouth. I haven't had such a sumptuous supper since like that since my mum passed. Much less one that packs that much of a soper and punch. How old are you? Age doesn't have anything to do with it. You see, I'm used to cooking these meals for Ritona whenever she's hung. I covered Selphine's mouth as quickly as I could. Milady, I believe we shouldn't waste Mr. Hertron's time or ours any longer and address the issue at hand. Oh, right. Yes, you're quite right, Ritona. You don't have to share my drinking habits with people from halfway around the world, Selphine. You really don't have to. Whatever it is, feel free to tell me. You both couldn't have come at a better time. I felt like I was dying. Tell me, what's on your minds? Thank you, Mr. Hertron. But before we dive into business, let's drink to fate for bringing us together again. Woo! Mr. Hertron retrieved a flask from his overalls, threatening to undo all of Selphine's efforts. He took a long swig while he merely stood in silence. Glug, 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 glug. Sarah? Can't say that I heard of that name before. She was the other girl who was with us both yesterday, Mr. Hertron. Well, in that case, yesterday was the first time I met her. You see, I have a real selective memory. The only names I put to faces are the folks who are either a part of my regular clientele or the folks I see at Abel's every night. Shame. Maybe Sarah isn't from around this part of town. I don't suppose she is either. Rune did say that it was a long while since she had last dined at Abel's tavern. If she doesn't come to this side of Cadia all that often, I wonder what brought her to that pawn shop where she first saw us. Say, is your establishment a part of the mana grid as well? If you asked me that question when I was still smashed, then I wouldn't ask why. So Missy, why are you asking? I suppose it is a silly question, but as you know, we aren't from around Cadia. Oh, gild me, why don't you? The entire city of Cadia, no, the entire outer pole is dependent on the mana grid. You both may not be Cadians, but I'd say it's best to square away a basic understanding of our society's fabric, if you know what I'm getting at. Don't go walking around asking willy-nilly about things that even a child will know. You'll get funny looks and funny folks following you both around. Your word of caution is appreciated. That's the second time we've been warned about attracting attention. Mr. Hertron, we've been told that Sarah works at Sevit's Enterprise. Apparently she's in charge of changing out something called a filter around this area. I know you didn't meet her until yesterday, but have you ever seen her stop by before to do that filter swap? Can't say I have. She works for Sevit's Enterprise, then all the more reason for her to not come round these parts. What makes you say that? We're on the opposite side of town, and our mana grid ain't owned or serviced by Sevit's Enterprise. We're on the Havs mana grid. Wait, they're actually... Oh, that's interesting. So there's competition here, you know? Oh, their Sevit's only competition when it comes to mana grid management. Their method of siphoning mana is a little different. Get this, they siphon mana straight from the atmosphere. It's literally right out there of thin air. How is that even possible? That shouldn't be possible, especially on the outer pole. The atmosphere is bereft of any mana. But what about the border of the inner pole, huh? The atmosphere there is just thick with nature's untapped mana. Now, I haven't been to it personally, but I heard that the mana there is, what was it again? Colored? Mana that's colored? Anyways, colored mana that's found in the atmosphere is apparently very different from the purified mana that they dig up out of their mana mines. Mainly, colored mana is unusual in its natural state. Havas does something to the inner pole's colored mana to make it work like purified mana. Long story short, you won't see any folks from Sevit's Enterprise come around this side of town. They got no reason to. Then, do you know anything about a girl named Rune? Hertzfon's entire body stiffened straight. He appeared to be paralyzed just by hearing the name alone. Hertzron reacted the same exact way as the lady proprietor from earlier. Whoa! He took a large swig from the flask in his hand and sighed slightly. That was a name. It wasn't a name I was expected to hear from either of you. I needed a lot of ale to wash that lump down. Was Rune really that much of a wild child, Hertzron? A wild child was putting it pretty mildly. Not in my whole life have I ever seen a child as wicked as her. Hertzron shares the lady's opinion as well. She took out my little nephew's left eye, blinded him. She what? Hertzron, she didn't. She did, and I'd like to leave it at that, if you don't mind. I don't like bringing up bad memories while I'm still sober. And I don't like spitting on the grave of any child, no matter how rotten they were in life. Well... What's the matter? Nah, I don't want to impose anything, but seeing that I do owe you both a debt of gratitude, I figure it wouldn't hurt none to mention this. There's a man that goes by the name of Albas in the employ of Rudosevitz. Seek him out. If anyone's got the answers to all your questions, it's gonna be Albas. Try the tavern tomorrow night. You should be able to meet him there. Oh, holy crap. There seems to be really something weird and strange going on in this this particular city. Like, I'm still unsure of whether Rune really is Rune, or this girl, Sarah, just took on the name as Rune to just make herself not be known to both Selphine and Ritona. But yeah, all of it is just kind of speculation at this point, so all we can do is wait for the next video to find out. So I'll see you guys then. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe for more, and I'll see you guys in the very next video. Peace!